out in Indiana, the scientists out there have found a way to transform mice embryonic cells into structures for the inner ear. Now, the thing is with the inner ear, there are very tiny little bones in there. I mean, they're even smaller than chicken bones, little tiny bones. And with the inner ear, it's very difficult to restore hearing and things like that. The research team led by Elri, E-R-I, Heschro, PhD, and Ruth C. Holton, professor of I've never spelled this word before, onatology at Indiana University School of Medicine, reported that they used the three-dimensional cell structure method, which were able to coax the stem cells to develop into inner ear sensory epithela, containing hair cells supporting the cell's neurons that detect sound, head movement, and gravity. Because gravity's a bitch, but you don't want to piss it off. So, but anyway, previous attempts to grow the inner ear hair cells they've done in the past have been very poor because all the necessary cues to develop the hair bundles they weren't able to get them to stand on end, or I guess they had to use a comb over on them, and it didn't quite work.
Hey, Donald Trump, Dom.
Yeah. And you don't want to Donald Trump your inner ear hairs, the comb over is just terrible, right? But the fact that they're actually able to do this, it's just amazing. That every day, science for the win. Joe, your thoughts?
Yeah, these inner ear hair cells are kind of like the gyroscope to the human body. Like you mentioned, they detect gravity and motion, and the researchers have traditionally had trouble reproducing them from stem cells because, they were just really hard to make. But the breakthrough came when they started using a 3D cell structure that allowed them to give the cells timed stimuli to grow into the things they wanted.
Right.
So this is an example of smart people coming up with a clever way to get something done.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's always amazing that people can figure this stuff out. I mean, I sit here in awe.
Weren't they using like mouse stem cells or something like that to do this?
Yeah, they're using mouse stem cells.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the thing is, what's really interesting is that when we need to do testing for stuff that's going to be for humans, we often use animals because, we are all related, and so sometimes you get cells from a mouse that they used and stuff that's going to be on us. Like a number of years ago, I think like 10, almost 20 years ago, they grew an ear on the back of a mouse. So that just to show, that mice can hear really big stuff.
I hope they named him Mickey.
Yes, it's on the mouse's back, not so much on his head, because that would probably make the mouse go flop over like this. Crystal, your thoughts?
Oh, I love this story. Diseases of the inner ear are so hard to treat, and we've not really had a medium to do so until this. So reading this story is really fascinating to me. There's so many complex things that happen to allow us to hear, and like Joe has said, and like you've said previously, the inner ear is what am I trying to say? Our center of balance, our awareness of gravity, our head position, and that's what all the inner ear is about. So for them to be able to recreate this in a 3D form and it function, it gives me great hope that that's going to lead to some medicinal treatments, surgical treatments, not only for people with hearing loss, but for people that suffer from inner ear disease, which is just life-altering.
Yes.
They're not able to walk, they're not able to sit. It's a terrible thing. So, science for the win again.
Absolutely, science for the win. I mean, these things out there are just to be able to stand and be able to function in a normal society today. You see people weaving down the road, and they're not drunk. They're just they have that inner ear problem that Crystal was mentioning, and it's astounding that we're getting to the tightest areas of the human body, and we're fixing things, or we're going to be fixing things even more. Essence, your thoughts?
Well, I think it's also good for the fact that there's the wider implications for all this. It's not just this piece of research that's the brilliant thing, but this research acts as a beacon of how progressive science can be, and manipulating basic cells at their core, etc. Because there's a lot of stigma around manipulating cells, because somehow you're defiling nature, etc. But here we have something that gives us a clear result, which then acts as good PR for the research in general,
Right.
which then allows it to gain more backing, more funding, etc., and more public, support, which then allows it to go further. So you can start looking at different sort of things. You can start looking at repairing other tissues, like the eye tissue or the brain, possibly eventually. So, it's a very big stepping stone for a long journey.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just a nice fact that we can get in there and do this. And the manipulation of cells alone right there. I mean, there is a lot of stigma about manipulating cells. I mean, people think that, if we turn a cell one way, then the cell is going to turn into, I don't know, the Incredible Hulk or something. I don't know.
Or the blob.
Or the blob, right.
The gluttonous blob.
Yes, exactly. And the thing is, that's just not the truth, because they don't understand science. It scares them, and we need to with stuff like this going on, we're going to show them that, hey, science is helping people. Even if for the people who are out there who believe that, if they touch people, grab people's heads and shake them and go, oh, jeebus, then they go off to the doctor and they have something like this done, they're going to give it all praise to God, all these hard people who worked all this stuff. But scientists are doing this work for you and me and everybody else. And
the greater good.
That's right, for the greater good for everybody.